before I go too far, there's a lot of sensitivities, and I want to make sure you folks realize I'm talking a bit autobiographical here. I'm not talking about the university in no way representing their activities, because they are obviously launching a whole set of programs designed to define their role as an economic engine within the region, within the community. In fact, just today I got an email asking us to outline all the things we've done for many years so they can begin to at least do an inventory of what they've been doing in response to the chancellor's directives. Now, one of the problems I face locally is I read the newspaper. And I often, well, I only find out about the bad things, the negative things. And if you read the local press, you will find out that this is the gloomiest business unfriendly region probably on 7 continents. I'm not quite sure. And I don't believe that's the case, but I see words like pathetically low and talking about venture capital investment and so forth. And I understand the point that is being made here, but I also recognize, having been involved with venture capitalists and angel investors and banks and so forth, they don't invest in regions. They don't even invest so much in people, except for the business side of it. They invest in technology that's going to give them a return on their investment. And if a community doesn't have that to match the particular interests of the venture capitalists, they're not going to invest. And so the money goes where the technology is and not necessarily where the region is. So then my view as a venture capitalist, or excuse me, an entrepreneur, is something like this if I read the local newspapers, okay? It's a bright sunny day and let's go down to the beach for a while. In 1990, 1991, I sort of made a commitment, and I met with Senator Libous and economic development people in Broome County, and I said, you know, we have the opportunity to build an industry. And of course, I explained the industry was based upon my research specialty in low temperature medicine. I went through a number of meetings, and each one I came out with a nice pat on the head and said, nice job, go home. And it wasn't, they didn't believe me. And they didn't believe you could take in this area and start something and have it grow. And I'll go through this slide later on, but we started a company, Crowd Medical Sciences, and we grew that, and I'll tell you exactly what it did later on. And there were a number of spin-offs from that and a number of new growths from that. And we're going to look at where we are today with CPSI Biotech. The bottom line is that this industry within the last 4 years has spent $1 billion on mergers and acquisitions of crowd medical sciences companies. And the first one was, again, one we began here. I wasn't born in Binghamton. I wasn't raised in Binghamton. I came here in 1987 to join the university. Before that, I was in Houston, and I started a couple of companies there. I just mentioned them. One was private financing for Charleston Arena. My interest has always been low temperature, as I'll say a number of times, which you either use to preserve living systems or you use to kill living systems, depending upon what you're attempting to do. Back in the late mid-70s, shrimp was a luxury. Now it's a commodity. The aquaculture or mariculture industry was just getting started, and they had no way to seed the ponds, the estuaries, and so forth. Shrimp only breed once or twice a year. They'll lay thousands of eggs, and thousands are eaten by predators, and maybe 1 out of 10,000 grows up to be a real shrimp, and that's why shrimp is very expensive. Today, they're all grown in pounded, netted areas, and in South America and the Philippines primarily. And so we developed a way to freeze, I use the word embryo, the really early developmental stages of the larvae, the young shrimp, and that is the seed stock now, was, and I'm sure still is, for that industry. And the universities in combination, University of Houston, Texas A&M took the technology and licensed it to Charleston Arena. Shortly after that, I received a direction, founding a company on the New York Stock Exchange, LifeCell, initially a pharmaceutical company. Now it's involved in tissue engineering, cell preservation. It was acquired in 2008 to take private. So as a faculty member, I became involved both on my own research and supporting the research of neighboring institutions heavily involved in the business area. When I came here, after learning how to live in the winter again in upstate New York after 12 years of university, I ended up being a founder or co-founder of another number of companies. Cryomedical Science, I was joined that as a fledgling group. I had a president and CEO who lived in Bethesda. We established an R&D arm of the company locally and took it public. We raised, I think, $22 million, as I recall, to develop surgical instrumentation to treat cancers, primarily prostate cancer, and also use low temperature in surgery. Once the company hit about $70 million in revenue and so forth, it was acquired by a competitor, Endocare, which, as you see the slide later on, was acquired by another company. After that, we started BioLife Solutions, which probably read about in the newspaper, if you remember. But in any event, I was the sole basic founder of that. We started as an incubator company on the EU campus. Once we developed a sufficient list of clientele that we were manufacturing and selling product, we moved off campus. We individually purchased our own facility in Owego, rehabbed it, started a biotech company. The funding we derived was money out of Zurich, Switzerland, through an angel investor. And after 5 years, he elected to take command of the situation and wanted the company moved to a real city. So he managed to find the right people, moved to Seattle, cell preservation company. And then now, this company I'm working with, which was founded in 2005 by my son, it is a medical device company and working on novel cancer therapies, actually, and very successfully. The name stems from a relationship they had with BioLife, but for obvious reasons, the non-competes, it left the preservation market and is now in the area. I'm going to say a little bit about each of those as we go through. And this was important. I was a faculty member. I was entrepreneurial. You know, I do my consulting thing wherever I could. But then in 1990, I had the opportunity to take a leave of absence from the university, which turned out to be absolutely critical. It was a 3-year leave of absence as I joined the company as vice president of R&D, never having had done that. I developed scientific equipment with other companies, but not medical related. And the university worked out a deal where they loaned me for the 3 years, and the company basically paid them, I think, quite well. I mean, they got research grants, they got salary money, et cetera. And as it worked out, I stayed with that company until it was sold in 2002, but, in a different way. We grew in Rockville to 364 employees. I mentioned the venture capital and so forth. And as with most companies today, you grow them to a point and they're acquired by someone large or someone different. Toward the end, I became CEO of the company. Really, my function for almost a 2-year period was to manage the asset transfer to a competitor. So it was a long trial, if you will, by fire in the real world. What Biotech Sciences did is take freezing technology. This is prostate cancer. The heavy dark stuff is a cancer. The light is very true here. This is sort of normal tissue. Very advanced stage cancer, and it converts it to something that looks like that, tissue-wise. All the cellular material is gone. The cancer is completely destroyed. Today, that technology has evolved. I think there's like 6-7% of the centimeters diameter around it, so each of these needles. So it's an outpatient procedure for the treatment of prostate cancer. A number of business predicting groups suggest it will become a major force within a number of years. Part of the reason for that is we published a few years ago a 10-year outcome study which showed that after 10 years it was 77% cancer-free in patients, which is awfully good. And then the American Urological Association asked us to prepare a recommendation or best practice policy for that particular treatment of cancer, which was then published 2008 also. So it was a technology we developed in 1991. We grew it. We had hundreds of sites performing the procedure. We had a number of competitors form and enter the marketplace. And it took 17 years to get a scientific body, medical body's approval of the procedure. This is quite common in medicine. It's a generational kind of thing. Then after that, took some residual technology and started BioLife. We developed a number of products. These products are FDA registered, they're not really approved, different category. We grew locally about 15 employees. We raised about $5 million for local development and generated over 2 years about $4 million in revenue, and I served as a CEO in that company. I'm sorry, there's no sound you got here. This is what stimulated much of what we're doing, and I don't know how well you can see this picture. This is a video of a 7-year-old boy being pulled out from under the ice in Chicago after 45 minutes underwater. By the way, he recovered completely normal. And so we met with the neurosurgeon, Julian, who's now chairman of surgery at West Virginia University Medical School, figure out what might have happened. We developed a technology around that, which was really designed to preserve organs. And I'll tell you something just very briefly. There was still is a technology that DuPont developed to preserve organs, focusing on hearts here for a moment. Doesn't do too well. We developed a technology, we had one, we tried it, sort of worked, but not too well. We were approached by a company called BioHeart, still very active and a darling in the market. And they had a problem trying to preserve heart cells, heart stem cells. We developed technology that would preserve them completely normally. And we did that at Binghamton University. And what it involved is they were collecting adult stem cells from patients who had myocardial infarction, major damage of the heart. These patients were bedridden, their cardiac was about 10%. They couldn't walk from here across the room. And what this company was doing was taking the adult stem cells, muscle stem cells, processing them, and then injecting them into the patient's heart in the area where the damage was. And they were getting, improving the output to 30, 40%. So the patient could be ambulatory. Couldn't go to Disneyland, but walk around and do things. And they continued to work to improve that. Problem was, they couldn't move those cells out of the hospital because they'd be dead within hours, and they needed